We start our final classical concert of the season with a relatively new work by the great English composer Thomas Adès. We've played a few of Adès' pieces over the past few years, and I'm particularly excited to introduce the Exterminating Angel Symphony. It has a personal connection for me. I worked on the premiere of the opera from which this symphony is based in 2016 at the Salzburg Festival. The opera is based on the 1962 film The Exterminating Angel, directed by Buñuel. It's a surrealist masterpiece. We're at an upper-class dinner party after a night at the opera. Silver and crystal glisten in the candlelight. Conversation sparkles. The food is delicious. But at the end of the evening, for some reason, no one can leave the house. This continues for days, weeks, with all of the guests stuck in the dining room. Gradually, the norms of civilization disintegrate, and we see the brutal side of human survival. One guest dies in his sleep. A couple commits suicide in a wardrobe. Guests hack through the walls to find a water pipe. Hysteria prevails until someone suggests that everybody sit exactly as they were when they got stuck. The guests reenact the evening, miraculously discovering they can leave. Reunited with their families outside the house, they set off for church, say a requiem mass in thanksgiving. But at the end of the mass, no one can leave the church. The opera ends. Adès relishes the surrealism of the film, creating a musical atmosphere in which we're never sure where we are or exactly what we're hearing. Some of the most interesting music takes place in the orchestra, leading Adès to draw an orchestral-only piece from the opera in 2020, which he entitles a symphony. The first movement, Entrances, plays the music over which the guests arrive at the dinner party. The second is a ferocious march, representing the growing panic of the trapped guests as time passes. The third is a berceuse, or lullaby, very beautiful and poignant, as a soon-to-be married couple sing to each other before deciding to die together. And the finale, Waltzes, takes music from throughout the opera. Waltzes have been continuously present as a symbol of decadence, much as in Ravel's masterpiece La Valse, which we performed a few weeks ago. The dance always contains something sinister, and Adès seems to be trying to outcompose Ravel in his depiction of wealthy excess and calamity. Despite that rather foreboding description, the Exterminating Angel Symphony is a dazzling orchestral work, taking us deep inside Buñuel's surrealistic world, rather like stepping into a Salvador Dali painting, replete with bending clocks and dripping candle wax. It's an experience not to be forgotten, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you in its Jacksonville debut. After intermission, we turn to one of the greatest symphonies of the 19th century, Hector BERLIOZ's magnificent Symphonie Fantastique, completed in 1830. BERLIOZ believed in programmatic music, that is, pieces that tell a specific story. The symphony is subtitled Episodes in the Life of an Artist, in 5 sections. Based on BERLIOZ's own life, the story concerns an artist who has poisoned himself with opium due to his intense and unrequited love for a beautiful woman. In real life, this was Harriet Smithson, a Shakespearean actress who later became BERLIOZ's wife. Each movement explores a different mood or event. BERLIOZ wrote of the first, entitled Daydreams and Passions. The author imagines that a young musician, afflicted with that emotional affliction which a famous writer calls the vague de passion, sees for the first time a woman who unites all the charms of the ideal being of which his imagination dreamed, and he becomes madly in love with her. By a singular oddity, the cherished image never presents itself to the artist's mind except in connection with a musical idea, in which he finds a certain passionate but noble and timid character, like that which he attributes to the beloved object. When Berlioz describes the musical idea, he refers to one single melody that returns in every movement of the symphony, representing his love for the woman. He calls his melody his idée fixe, or fixed idea, and we can hear it in different guises throughout the symphony, like a passing memory or an imagined glance in the crowd from his beloved. The second movement depicts a glamorous ball. It begins ominously, setting the scene for much excitement, featuring two harps. After the festivities, our hero travels to the countryside. Berlioz wrote of the third movement, "One evening, finding himself in the country, he hears two shepherds playing a ronce de vanche on their pipes. This pastoral duet, the scenery, the slight rustling of the trees gently stirred by the wind, some hopes that he has lately found reason to conceive, all conspire to restore his heart to unaccustomed calm, to give to his ideas a more cheerful colour. He reflects on his isolation. He hopes his loneliness will soon be over. But what if she betrays him? This mixture of hope and fear, these ideas of happiness, disturbed by some dark forebodings, form the subject of the adagio. At the end, one of the shepherds resumes the ronce de vanche. The other no longer responds. Distant sound of thunder, solitude, silence. We hear the shepherd's pipes as a conversation between on-stage English horn and off-stage oboe, brilliantly creating a sense of distance over the fields in the concert hall. The cheerful colour Berlioz mentions is one of the symphony's most glorious and impassioned melodies, full of unexpected twists and turns, while the final sounds of thunder are brilliantly realised between different sets of timpani. The fourth movement, the March to the Scaffold, is a terrifying nightmare. Berlioz wrote, "Having grown sure that his love is unappreciated, the artist poisons himself with opium. The dose of the narcotic, too small to kill him, plunges him into a sleep accompanied by the most horrible visions. He dreams that he has killed the one he loved, that he is condemned, that he is being led to execution, and that he is witnessing his own guillotining. The procession advances to the sound of a march, sometimes dark and fierce, sometimes brilliant and solemn, in which a muffled sound of heavy footsteps follows without transition the loudest outbursts. At the end of the march, the first four bars of the idée fixe reappear, like a last thought of love, interrupted by the fatal blow." By the time we reach the finale, we are thoroughly under Berlioz's spell. The last movement is entitled Dream of a Night of a Sabbath. Once again, Berlioz's description is indispensable. He sees himself at a Sabbath, in the middle of a horrible troop of ghosts, sorcerers, and monsters of all kinds gathered together for his funeral. Strange noises, moans, bursts of laughter, distant cries to which other cries seem to respond. The beloved melody reappears again, but it has lost its character of nobility and timidity. It is no more than a dance tune, ignoble, trivial, and grotesque. It is she who is coming to the Sabbath. Roar of joy as she arrives. She joins in the diabolical orgy. Funeral knell, burlesque parody of the Dies Irae, witches' round dance, the sound of the Dies Irae and the round together. Berlioz quotes the ancient plain chant from the church, the Dies Irae, meaning day of wrath, day of judgment, adding an air of biblical damnation to the witches' dances. Throughout the movement, he uses unusual instrumental combinations to create the strange noises and moans he referred to. We hear a shrieking E-flat clarinet for one of the first times in musical history, and the movement begins with the violins playing sul ponticello on the bridge, which creates a glassy and sinister effect. Berlioz also throws in a set of enormous church bells, which we hear in the final moments. In 1830, Beethoven had barely been dead for 3 years. His symphonies were held up as the ideal. The artistic leap that Berlioz took in imagining the Symphonie Fantastique is absolutely enormous. The sheer originality of the conception is staggering, as is the power, terror, and beauty of the music. Throughout the symphony, Berlioz's passion and vigour make the music fizz with life and excitement, resulting in a thrilling orchestral journey. The American conductor and composer Leonard Bernstein described the work thus: "Berlioz tells it like it is. You take a trip, you wind up screaming at your own funeral. Take a tip from Berlioz that music is all you need for the wildest trip you can take, to hell and back." On June 7th and 8th, we hope you'll join us in Jacobi Symphony Hall as we end this incredible season with a wild adventure.